Alright, so it's 7 o'clock on Monday, June 17th, 2019. I'll call the meeting to order, and the first thing we'll do is stand for a moment of silent reflection. Alright, is there any declaration of paying interest or the nature thereof? Alright, moving into the minutes of the previous meeting, which was June 3rd, 2019. Move our seconder for those minutes. Councilor McKinnon and Deputy Mayor Hendricks. All those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried. We have a few items for our timed events and delegations. The first one's at 7:05, and it's for the Committee of Adjustment for consent applications B08 2019 and B09 and B10. Then at 7:20, we have a public meeting for zoning bylaw amendment application Z05 2019. So moving to the correspondence, the first section is the upcoming conferences, seminars, and meetings. And our next regular meeting is July 8th, then July 22nd, and then August 12th. First item for correspondence is from the St. Clair Conservation Authority, and it's the 2019 bus tour invitation, and that's being held on June 27th.
Is anyone going with me?
Sure. When is
It is 27th,
Thursday? It's next week.
between the Lake Huron.
Oh, that's a conservation.
I might. I'll have to look at my
Okay.
Yeah.
I think you'd enjoy it, and it takes you to the areas that St. Clair looks at. And
Okay, next is the invitation to the 2019 Wardens Golf Tournament. Hopefully everybody's able to attend.
I'll be going to the supper only.
Okay,
Same.
I will golf if I can.
alright. I know there's some other keen individuals in the office that like to golf, so I'm sure there'll be a team. Alright, item number 3 is from AMO, and it's the 2019 conference, and it's from August 18th to 21st in Ottawa. And then item number 4 is from St. Mary's Church, and it's their annual church service, which is this coming Sunday, which is the 23rd at 3 p.m. Okay, the recommended readings. The first one's also from St. Clair Conservation Authority, and it's a conservation update from June 2019. And item number 6 is from DeGroots, and it's a letter of concern regarding the proposed biosolids storage facility. The next section is our action required, and it's the municipal significance request, and it's for the chicken barbecue, community chicken barbecue that's being hosted by the Auckland Spa.
I'm wondering if we could move both requests to the closed section, so we can deal with the matter in closed section, and then deal with those 2 issues after the closed section.
Sure. That would make sense.
So I'll move that section C be deferred until the in-camera decision regarding the incident at Gerwood Park.
Okay, seconder. Okay, by Councilor Clark. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried. Okay, so we'll move back to the Committee of Adjustment. And we have a motion to resolve the council convene as the Committee of Adjustment for the purpose of hearing consent application B08 2019, 09 and 10 at 7:05 p.m.
So moved.
Okay, Councilor McKinnon, seconded by Deputy Mayor Hendricks. All those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried. Alright, so before we go into the first public hearing, the purpose of the following public hearings for Adelaide Metcalfe Committee of Adjustment is to give the members of the Committee of Adjustment as well as the general public an opportunity to hear all interested persons with respect to the applications before the committee this evening. The public is advised that comments expressed in the written material presented are a matter of public record available available for full disclosure. If a person or public body files an appeal of decision made this evening to the local planning appeal tribunal without having made a written submission to the committee, the tribunal may dismiss the appeal. If you wish to be notified of the decision, please submit a written request to the township, and a sign-in sheet will be provided once Jennifer comes back. The first application that's in front of us is P08 2019. It's the leach application, and I believe that this one was deferred before when they come forward.
Okay.
And you received a report from Aaron.
Yep.
Excellent. Aaron, would you like to go through the report?
Thank you, Mayor. So the purpose of this application is to permit the severance of a residence surplus to a farming operation. The subject property is approximately 40 acres in size and extends along the north side of Tate's Road between Scotchmere Drive and Innendale Drive. This application was first brought before the committee on April 15th of this year, but was deferred to allow the applicant time to decide what they would like to do with their barn on the property. In discussion with staff, the applicant has since revised the application to amend the proposed lot lines to keep the barn with the retained farm parcel rather than include it with the residential lot. The lands proposed to be severed contain an existing single-detached dwelling, a detached garage, and a tarp-covered steel frame structure. The dwelling is privately serviced with individual septic and well. The lands proposed to be retained, being the remnant farm parcel, contain an old barn and are largely in agricultural production. So I won't go through all of the policy information in my report, but the provincial policy statement, County of Middlesex official plan, and Township of Adelaide Metcalfe official plan generally permit lot creation in agricultural areas to dispose of a surplus dwelling that is surplus to a farming operation after farm consolidation has been achieved. So planning staff are satisfied that this has occurred as the farming operation consists of approximately 5 farm holdings. The surplus dwelling was also built prior to January 1st, 1999. The applicant has requested that 2 accessory buildings be retained with the dwelling. The township's chief building official requires that the accessory buildings be inspected by a qualified professional to confirm structural soundness and to ensure the building meets the minimum standards of a residential accessory building. The chief building official also recommends that the barn located on the retained lands be demolished as it does not appear to be structurally sound. He also advises that if the barn is to remain, a change of use permit will be required to prohibit livestock in these buildings. Staff recommend that this be added as a condition of consent as the barn does not meet the setback requirements under MDS. Planning staff advise that if the consent application is granted, that the lands to be severed go through a zone change for agriculture only on the remnant parcel, as well as surplus dwelling for the lands to be severed. As per the requirements of the Planning Act, the application was circulated. The township chief building official advised that we require proof of adequate and potable water supply, that a qualified installer provide a location, drawing, and report on the condition of the septic system, that the existing barn on lands to be retained be demolished and the debris be removed from the property, or a change of use permit be required to prohibit livestock. The accessory buildings on the severed lands be reviewed by a qualified individual, and that the habitability of the dwelling be confirmed. The township drainage superintendent has also indicated that there are drains affected by the severance and that revised schedules of assessment are required. The Conservation Authority indicated no concerns with the severance, and so far no comments have been received from the public. So based on this information, my recommendation is that the application for consent B08-2019 be granted subject to conditions. The first condition, that the certificate of consent be issued within 1 year of the notice of decision. Number 2, that the applicant solicitor submits an undertaking in form satisfactory to the Secretary Treasurer to register an electronic transfer of title exactly consistent with the acknowledgement and direction executed by the applicant. Number 3, that any outstanding property taxes for both the severed and retained be paid in full. That a preliminary survey showing the lands being severed be submitted to the township prior to depositing at the land registry office. Number 5, that 2 paper copies and 1 digital copy of this reference plan be submitted. Number 6, that a zoning bylaw amendment recognizing the residential use of the retained lot and prohibiting new dwellings on the severed lot be in full force and effect. Number 7, that the existing accessory buildings on the severed lands be inspected by a qualified professional, and the inspection report be provided to the township. Number 8, that the barn on the retained land be demolished or a change of use permit be obtained. Number 9, that unless replaced, the septic system be inspected by a qualified installer and the inspection report be provided to the township. Number 10, that the I'm struggling with this word today. Habitability of the dwelling be confirmed. Number 11, that adequate and potable water be demonstrated to exist. Number 12, that drain assessment schedules be revised. Number 13, that independent accesses for the lands to be severed and lands to be retained are provided. And finally, that the owner enter into a severance agreement with the township in order to advise future owners of the normal farm practices of the area.
Okay, thank you, Aaron. Bill, do you have anything you'd like to add at all?
No, I don't think so. I think I can handle all the conditions.
So, is there anyone in the gallery wishing to speak to this application? Seeing none, any questions or comments from the Committee of Adjustment? Councilor McKinnon?
Through your Mayor Curtis to Bill, were you wanting to retain the barn bill and just go for a change of use permit?
No, my plan is to take the barn down.
Okay,
I'm working on getting somebody to do that.
okay. Thank you.
Okay. Is there any other questions or comments? Okay, so we have the recommendation in front of us with the 14 conditions. Do we have a mover and seconder? Okay. Councilor Clark and Councilor Brody. All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Okay, thank you. Okay, next we have consent application B09 and B10 of 2019, and it's the Adelaide Village Farms. And we have Mike Peters. Come to the old like call a hot seat around here. Okay. Aaron, would you like to go through the report?
Mayor Smith. So this application is actually requesting 2 severances. We're looking at B09 and B010. So the purpose of these applications are to sever 2 lots from a 19.39 hectare property within the village of Adelaide. The applications would facilitate the creation of 2 residential building lots. The lots proposed to be severed are currently vacant, and the lands proposed to be retained are currently in agricultural production. The subject lands are an irregularly shaped property located between Kent Street and Feasy Street in Adelaide, and then continue north of the village into more of the agricultural area. So both Kent Street and Feasy Street are classified as local roads under the jurisdiction of the township. So under the Adelaide Metcalfe official plan, the subject property is located within the hamlet area designation. And within the zoning, it's actually within the urban residential zone, so it's actually already designated and zoned appropriately. So this is actually just for the portion, if you refer to the location map, the part that is actually north of the village in the agricultural area is designated and zoned agriculture. However, the piece that comes down into the village is already designated and zoned for residential development. So the provincial policy statement, county official plan, and township official plan direct that settlement areas shall be the focus of growth and development, subject to appropriate servicing. Planning staff are satisfied that the proposal to create 2 additional building lots can be serviced privately by individual septic systems and individual on-site water supply. And we are satisfied that this can be considered as infill development. The township official plan allows for new development within a hamlet area provided that the proposed use is compatible with existing land uses, has direct access to a public road, and has adequate lot frontage and lot area to provide these on-site services. Planning staff note that the applicant provided a preliminary plan showing that building envelopes, there is sufficient area for building envelopes as part of the submission package. Engineered site servicing and grading plans for the lots to be severed will be required as per the direction from the chief building official. Planning staff have generally evaluated the proposed development based on these criteria for new development and are satisfied that the proposed use of Lot 1 to be severed, being residential, is compatible with the existing area. Furthermore, Lot 1 has direct access onto a public road already, and adequate lot frontage is provided. The applicant would be required to demonstrate that water supply, sanitary sewage disposal, and drainage are adequate, and to the satisfaction of Adelaide Metcalfe through the provision of engineered site servicing and grading plans. So that was for the lot 1 facing onto Kent Street. So I evaluated them a little differently because the lot 2 has some requirements that lot 1 didn't need to meet. So I evaluated based on the same criteria, but I do note that as a condition of consent, Feasy Street will require extension in order to provide lot 2 and the retained agricultural lot with access and frontage onto a public right-of-way. So if you notice on the map, the property right now, the frontage actually comes down the L-shaped property, and the frontage is actually on Kent Street. So because we are removing that portion of it on Kent Street, the remaining parcel will now front and have public access onto an extension of Feasy Street. So what we're looking at in that situation is a deficient lot frontage, because that's zoned agriculture, and the lot frontage is a lot more than what would be required for a residential lot. So as planning staff advised that if one or both of the consent applications are granted, a minor variance will be required to recognize the deficient lot frontage to the retained. So that's regardless of whether lot 1 or 2 are, or lot 1 and 2 are approved, the minor variance will be required one way or the other. However, the Feasy Street extension, during the circulation period, it was brought to staff's attention that a neighboring landowner has paid a portion of the cost to extend Feasy Street and uses this portion of the road to park a large transport vehicle. And just based on the timing of the report, staff are recommending that the consent application B10-2019 be deferred until staff are able to determine whether the extension of Feasy Street is possible and discuss with the applicants the costs required to do so. So it was just a matter of timing for the report that we weren't able to look into what the ramifications are for the township, what actually happened, if there's an agreement and that sort of thing. So we do need to look into that a little further. So in summary, planning staff are satisfied that the criteria for the creation of one additional residential lot has been met or can be appropriately addressed by conditions of consent. So the application was circulated. The township's chief building official indicated that the owner shall provide engineered site servicing and grading plans for the proposed lots to verify all clearances from existing septic systems, and all drainage concerns will be addressed. The owner shall provide proof of adequate and potable water supply, and the extension of Feasy Street may be of concern as the owner of a transport truck parks at the end and has paid for the cost to extend the street in order to park his truck and trailer. The township's drainage superintendent indicated that there appears to be no outlet for surface or subsurface drainage on the proposed lots to be severed. As a condition of severance, the applicant should provide a detailed grading plan for these lots, ensuring that they have sufficient outlet that does not impact neighboring properties. And as of the date of this report, no comments or concerns have been received from the public. So my recommendation this evening is that first, for application of consent B09-2019, is that it be approved subject to the following conditions. So the certificate of consent be issued within 1 year, that the applicant solicitor submits an undertaking to register electronic transfers of title. Number 3, that a preliminary survey showing the lands being severed be submitted to the township prior to depositing at the land registry office. Number 4, that 2 paper copies and 1 digital copy of the reference plan be submitted. Number 5, that a minor variance be granted to recognize the deficient lot width of the lot to be retained, being the remnant farm parcel. Number 6, that independent accesses to the lot to be severed and the lot to be retained be provided. Number 7, that the engineered site servicing and grading plan demonstrates adequate drainage outlets as well as available area for private on-site services on the lot to be severed and lot to be retained to the satisfaction of the township of Adelaide Metcalfe. And number 8, that any outstanding property taxes be paid in full. And finally, my recommendation for consent B10-2019 be deferred until staff have had more of an opportunity to investigate the ramifications of the Feasy Street extension.
Okay, thank you, Aaron. Mike, do you have anything you'd like to add at all?
No, not really. I guess the only thing is, from talking to Aaron, the first one seems quite simple, the second one's a little more difficult. So I don't know if with small frontage, if there would be an interest in making like a third lot and then I donate that to the town so that it's like extend the road through that lot, but I mean, that's maybe a little more complicated, but that, when you look at it, that would functionally make more sense, but you guys tell me, right? Cause you just have the frontage at, so the street essentially ends there, right? So then it would match the lots in the rest of Adelaide, but I mean, that could be done down the road, I'm sure too, if that's the way the village goes or whatever, but.
I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that, but I'm sure that
You follow
conversation.
me on that?
We can certainly talk about that.
Yeah, that's probably, that lot's a lot more complicated, right, because of the frontage or whatever, so.
Just a question, Mike, so I don't know these lots back here, so the red areas, you obviously own on this, right? Now, are those two vacant lots heading south, like in front of that? Where Feezy Street goes down, there's severed lots now and somebody else owns them with nothing on them?
There's a cemetery.
There's a cemetery.
Well, the cemetery's in there?
And the other one just got sold, I think it looks like they're gonna build a there or something.
Okay. And then where your lane goes through, how wide is that, like to go up into your field?
Well, we don't use that, we come
You
in
don't
off
even use it?
10th Street, that's real, I think
So are
that's a
you
road
talking
that
like
got
make the road-
closed. That would make the most sense.
Make the road
to
all the way
me,
to the end.
But, you know, I think that's like wider than a road would be, to be honest, but that
Yeah.
would make more sense to me, right?
Mhm.
In the long run.
Yeah.
That's obviously what's probably gonna happen, maybe not, you know, in the next 10 years, but someday, I assume that will occur, but I'm kind of in whatever, either I make that one huge lot, or I make two, which kind of matches the village, right?
Yep.
So, and I'm not in a rush, someone actually approached me wanting a lot, that's the only reason I thought I'm not gonna look into it, right?
Well, if that's not your access, it might make sense to do.
Well,
Same
yeah,
on the street over
technically the farm access is cut off because of the way Kent Street is ended and the lots are goofy, right? So, cause I actually access that farm from the windmill anyways, right? But technically, I mean, if Parker ever got, I don't know what the rules on that are, but,
Yeah, true, you kind of need an access.
yeah.
But the street's wide enough to have, to be an access.
Yeah, that would make more sense if that was a road all the way back to
Yeah.
me, but.
Yeah.
You know, and I guess this, the transport truck on there is news to me, but obviously it's a public road, it doesn't, like, I can't put gravel on the road and then say it's my road like that, it doesn't work like that, right? You guys should have made a deal that said, okay, you pay for it, and that's free rent for 5 years, or whatever, it doesn't matter, but that's not how that works, so I don't know what deal got made there, but, you know, and I don't wanna step on any toes, I mean, I don't know the deal that got made, but that shouldn't hold up the severance.
Before we go any more comments from the committee of adjustment, is there anyone in the public gallery wishing to speak to this application?
Yeah, actually, I'd like to see that the water is addressed, because that is probably the lowest part of the property. And three of the properties actually drain into the future development of those lots. So, by bringing those up, if you try to bring them up to the resident level to the other houses up the street, you're bringing the property up 5 feet, 6 feet maybe. So now you're gonna have a watershed that you're gonna take from like a 400 square foot area to like a 200 square foot area that's gonna just back feed onto other people's properties, right? So the water drainage would be a huge concern of mine why this went through. Now it's not that I'm against future development, like it's great that people, we're gonna do things and, prosper about everything else, but like we could really address that, the drainage concern. That would be a huge benefit, I think, for everybody. Because there's 3 other properties that are joining there that, will be affected by it, so.
Can we see your name and address?
My name is Mike Curro,
Yeah.
and I'm just north of where the properties are gonna get served off.
Okay. Thank you. Mary, do you want to address that, or you can go to that?
Well, absolutely, one of the conditions to consent is that they provide a drainage, a site servicing and drainage plan. including grading and that sort of thing, and that's reviewed by the township, that's reviewed by Jeff Dunby, to ensure that there is no impact on the neighbors. And as well, Jeff Little has, we've discussed the extension of the road, and that drainage concerns would need to be addressed at that time as well. So it is something that we are requiring as part of the consent, that they address any potential drainage concerns.
Okay, Councillor Clark?
And that would be at the cost of the applicant?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So he's I'm assuming those are two houses there north of the red parcel?
Yes, mine would be the closest one to the red parcel.
Okay, so there's two, so that's not part of this farm here, okay. And do you access your property from Kent Street or from?
Yes,
East?
I actually paid in Develop Kester, the far end of Kester.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
I actually paid for the extension of Kester right from 29123 to the end of where it is now. So that made 300 meters.
Was that shared with any other ratepayers or you just paid
No,
for
I paid
yourself?
for it all myself.
Okay, is there any other questions from the Committee of Adjustment? Deputy Hendricks?
Yeah, Mike asked a couple of my questions. I'm wondering because the two lots that are north of these potential two lots are like double the size, so. You were talking about a third lot, are you talking about that little,
Well, to me, you would extend that, because potentially there could be more lots there someday, but I mean, I'm not opposed to one long skinny lot too, I just think it matches the other lots, why wouldn't I just make it into two lots, right? They're big enough, but I'm not opposed to that, but I will guarantee you that the next person who buys it will probably do that someday anyways, right? So, while I'm applying, you're deciding, well, it's the same cost to pursue one or both, right? And I guess it's up to council what way it's gonna go, right? So.
So sorry, just to piggyback on Mary Ann there, so where is this third lot you're talking
No,
about?
I'm saying what you could do is turn that back into a road, right? Like take the front
This
off
piece
it.
here?
Yeah, like, but the front of the second red lot essentially, or is that in there? Oh, sorry, I thought that lot was, the blue would be donated back, so that, I'm messing you up then.
Yeah.
I thought it was
Okay.
low frontage because the picture I see went all the way across. So that's not a third lot then, that's actually goes back to the town or whatever, however that works.
Councillor Brody?
I like the idea of extending Fusey Street maybe all the way, because you're talking a little piece of land there that where you're working, I mean, is not.
you have to back in.
And it might need that to help with the drainage on the other properties behind. But that's something the planner and the experts.
Well, how does drainage work in the town? Like everyone, do they have municipals going through town, or how does that actually work? I guess that could get us into a long discussion.
Mr. Mayor, not to speak to, there is a municipal coming back on Feezy. The problem is it doesn't go past the cemetery. So, and I can't, unless we get actually someone in to look to get whether these lots can, or that drainage can be outletted into that, and whether that municipal can handle it, or whether the dividing point goes back towards the farms, or to, I guess it's the Giffen farm over on this side. There's gonna have to be some work there, because right now, there's quite a bit of water. It's quite a low spot that we're talking about, and there is some concern even about where that water's gonna go, so. And there is a municipal going back there, but we're just not sure. There'd have to be some research and some engineering into it. One, how big is it, and whether it can actually take water from there. So.
It's pretty obvious on the map where the municipal must run diagonally across Van Geffen's field.
But there's also one running down Feezy. there's also municipal.
So it might just have to be extended on these, maybe.
Maybe.
Is there any other questions or comments for these applications? Just one comment from myself. I realize that the recommendation for the one is to proceed with the conditions and the other one is to defer. My only concern with that is that if for some reason that road is not able to be extended, which I believe it can, it's just a matter we need to go through some work to disprove that that shouldn't be an issue. The only problem that I can see is if that's the case that it can't happen, then we're going to have a very odd-shaped farm parcel.
Well, it's already.
Yeah, it's already odd, yes. But it,
Well,
yeah.
I would think at that time that I would just turn it into one lot, right? Would be the simplest.
Yes, yeah, so what I'm suggesting is that, but the problem is if we proceed with
Yeah,
approving the one and deferring the other one, is that the approval for the one is for that size
Yeah.
that you've applied for.
Yeah.
So the issue that it would become is that if for some reason the other lot cannot go forward, you have to go through the whole process again.
Yeah.
So, Councillor Brody?
Aaron,
Yeah.
like, what kind of timeline do we have to figure all this out?
To be honest, I'm not sure. Conversations need to happen within the township to determine exactly what we're looking at. I mean, it was a short time frame that we needed to talk about drainage and road extension and that sort of thing. So I imagine we could, I'd bring it back to the August meeting, potentially. I think.
That sounds reasonable, yeah? You okay with that?
Well, I'm in no rush. To be honest, someone approached me and then when this lot up here sold, and I got an idea on what it sold for, they lost interest, right? So I think.
So you have some time if we.
I'm in, like, I've only started to do this process because someone approached me.
Okay.
I'm not.
I think we need to look at, I think there is a couple things we have to look at, drainage.
Yeah,
and
that makes
stuff, so
sense, yeah.
maybe we should take, take a better time to do it, right?
Are you gonna make a motion or?
Yeah, I was
no?
gonna make a motion that
Yeah.
we defer on both lots
Yeah.
at this time,
Okay,
cause I think the drainage is a huge issue too.
and that's seconded by Councillor McKinnon, and that's to defer until we have more information regarding the road,
Drainage.
property, and drainage.
Yeah, we need
Yeah.
the whole picture then.
Just we can get for the minutes. Alright, there is no more discussion. All those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried. Okay, so we'll likely see you in August, if not before. You'll be in contact with Aaron.
Sure.
Alright, thank you. Alright, so we just need a motion to resolve that the committee of adjustment be closed at 7:33 p.m. and council reconvene in regular session. Councillor Clark and Deputy Hendricks, all those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried. Okay, moving into our public meetings for the zoning bylaw amendment, we need a motion to resolve that the public meeting to your zoning bylaw amendment application Z05-2019 be opened at 7:34. Councillor Brody and Councillor McKinnon, all those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried. So the purpose of the following public hearing for Adelaide Metcalfe Council is to give the members of the council as well as the general public an opportunity to hear all interested persons with respect to the application before council this evening. The public is advised that comments expressed in the written material presented are a matter of public record available for full disclosure. If a person or public body files an appeal of decision made this evening to the local planning appeal tribunal without having made a written submission to council, the tribunal may dismiss the appeal. If you wish to be notified of a decision, please submit a written request to the township and a sign-in sheet has been provided. Okay. So I think the last time we both had both Evans and Bennett's at the table, so maybe we'll do the same thing.
Evening, everyone.
I just want to our pen, so it doesn't, we know you're here.
Alright. Hey, Aaron, if you'd like to go through the report.
Sure, thank you, Mayor. So the purpose of this application is to implement a condition of consent, which was imposed by this Committee of Adjustment for consent B04-2019, which conditionally severed a parcel of land with an area of 1.2 hectares in order to accommodate a surplus farm dwelling sufferance. This application proposes to amend the zoning of the lot to be severed from general agriculture to a site-specific surplus dwelling, or SD-2 zone, in order to recognize the residential use of the lands. The application also proposes to amend the zoning of the lot to be retained from general agriculture to agriculture only, to prohibit residential uses on the lands to be retained. So the proposed zone change for the lot to be severed, the reason that we are making it a site-specific zone is simply because the accessory buildings to be located on the lot to be severed or retained, technically in this case, are oversized and do not conform to the policies within our surplus dwelling zone. So I have drafted the implementing zoning bylaw for your consideration this evening to include wording. So within the land zone SD-2 on Schedule A, Map 1, the following regulations shall apply. So maximum accessory floor area of the barn and the drive shed I've indicated as exists on June 17th of 2019, and that will establish that what is in existence today is fine under the zoning. Just no expansions to the buildings will be permitted. So we are satisfied that the application or the site-specific zone is appropriate for the residential use of the lands, as well as the agricultural only zone prohibiting new residential uses on lands to be retained. We're satisfied that that's an appropriate zone for that land as well. So the application was circulated. There were no comments made by any agencies, departments, or the public. So my recommendation for this application is that application Z05-2019 be approved, and further that council proceed with the first and second reading of the implementing bylaw, with the final reading to be provided once a deposited reference plan has been received to the satisfaction of the township.
Thank you, Erin. Lauren or Fred, would you like to make any comments at all?
Did I not last week deliver that survey? Does that qualify for what you just said?
That's what they're looking for.
If I may, we always have the standard, if once a survey is provided, then you get third reading. That's our standard recommendation from the planner, because she's not always here when those come in. So when we get to the bylaw itself, the actual, we'll be getting 3 readings tonight because we do have the survey.
Oh, okay, you're acknowledging that you do that.
Yes.
Do you just need 1 or do you need 2?
We need 2 hard copies and 1
I brought
digital.
you your second one.
Thanks. Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to, any other comments? Is there anyone in the gallery wishing to speak to this application? Any questions or comments? You're not going to object at all? No? Okay. Deputy Hendricks?
Just one little detail I'd like to confirm, that the on the key map it shows the east boundary. They're on the same line, right? They're just the red and the yellow. We're not leaving a little laneway space. They're overlapping. Oh, you are leaving a little laneway space.
Yes.
Oh, funny way a lot. Okay. Is that for access?
It is, yeah, this is access to the ditch on the side.
Correct.
Right, okay. I must not have been hearing that.
I don't think you are.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, is there any other questions or comments from council? Okay, so we need a motion to resolve the public meeting to hear zoning bylaw amendment application Z05-2019 be closed at 7:39. Councilor Rody and Deputy Hendricks, all those in favor, opposed and carried. And the recommendation for this application is for approval. Second for that, Councilor McKinnon and Councilor Clark. All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. All right, and then at the end of this meeting, we'll have the bylaw for that application. Okay? Thank you. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and our next item is an update regarding special policy area review.
Okay, I'll make this very short and sweet. So at the May 21st meeting, an interim control bylaw was passed by council, and staff were directed to undertake a review of the special policy areas identified in our official plan. Planning staff are currently working with the senior planning team to create a fulsome project timeline, and based on current workload, staff estimated an approximate 6 to 8 month timeframe to complete this review. The completed project timeline will be brought before council in July.
Okay, is there any questions at all from council? Do we have a motion? Motion to receive that report. Okay. Deputy Hendricks and Councillor Brody. All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Right, is there any other questions at all for Erin before she heads out? All right, thank you. So we'll head into our staff reports. And our first ones are from our Public Works Manager, Jeff.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Tonight I got a few reports. They're fairly straightforward, so we'll just kind of go through and ask some questions what people have. So the first one is an information report only. It's to give an update to council on activities that have been done, that are going on, and what the next phase is. So as the report goes, our maintenance, basically our spring work is done, our maintenance gravel is on, dust control is on, weed spraying has been completed. We did the parking lot at the Kerwood Park for the ball tournament, got it done before the ball tournament. We were unable to expand the parking lot due to the wet conditions or dig out the ball diamond due to the wet conditions. So that's still on our radar for this summer, and get that cleaned up for the park. We had a road repair on Mulferry. It was completed by Mays Excavating. It's been done. We also have a bridge repair on Mulferry also, which I've contacted Mays to finish up for us on a box culvert there. That's the shoulder is collapsing on us there. So that's in the process. Traffic counts have started. Roadside cutting has started, and guide rail trimming has started. The Kerwood sidewalks, I've had a couple of inquiries about Kerwood sidewalks and tripping hazards through the town. And I know I've talked to council, there is a report that I believe it's included here tonight about the Kerwood sidewalks, but just to give an update, I was talking to one of the residents. Even we are going to improve, there's grass growing up between a lot of the cracks and stuff, and it is quite a tripping hazard. So in the next week, we'll be out there cleaning up the sidewalks for trip hazards in Kerwood. So we are going to do that right away. And then the big one that'll start up soon is Walker's Drive construction. Again, tonight you'll see some of the tenders for Walker's Drive have come back in. The plan is happen fairly quickly because everything's got to fall in place over the next couple of months. So we'll be down there. Actually, we're going to be down there tomorrow to get a few things started, and yeah, we'll be back on Walker's. So I know weather's not. We're pumping the ditches out, but what are you going to do? Mother Nature's not drying them. So basically, that's an information. There's really no financial impact. All the activities have been covered in the budget. And my recommendations obviously is resolve that council accept the Public Works information report as prepared by Public Works Manager. So.
Okay. Is there any questions at all? Councilor McKinnon?
Just a comment through the meeting there, Curtis, to Jeff. Frank Cowan had an item on trip and fall and sidewalks. It just came in today, so it would be useful maybe to look that up. And I think there might be a session on it coming up at the conference.
And just to continue along those lines, Mr. Mayor, I know everybody's been reminded at least once or twice, sidewalks are considered roads. They're just as liability, dangerous and responsible as a road is, so.
I'll move the report.
Okay, seconded by Councillor Brody. Any other questions or comments on this report? All those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried.
The second report is just a follow-up. I did a verbal report on the truck driving rodeo competition about how well Coulter and Ron and Richard who competed in it with 53 other drivers. All three of them finished first, second, and third. And Richard finished first, Coulter second, and third in Middlesex County. And overall, Richard finished second out of all the drivers, and Coulter finished third, which is great. So a follow-up to that is that Richard and Coulter are both qualified for the provincial finals, which is in Renfrew, and so to send them down there to compete in the fall would the financial impact would be about $650, which is under the training budget and the operational roads budget. My recommendation, similar to in the past, is resolved that council approves sending Coulter and Richard to the provincial drivers rodeo on September 11th, 2019 in Renfrew.
Mover and seconder for that, Councillor Brody and Councillor McKinnon. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried.
Okay, my third report is the summer student position. A little bit of a summer student position was approved in the budget by council to support the road department. And the student, he helps with basically all our activities, whether it's construction or maintenance. He's in the process of, he does our traffic counts, and also too, he does an inspection of the park, of the landfills, and that sort of thing on a regular basis. Applicants were asked to submit a resume. I received 2 resumes. Kyle Kraus, the summer student from last year, reapplied, and with his training and experience, Kyle was selected for the position. The wage expense for this position was included in the 2019 operating budget. So my recommendation resolved that council accept the summer student position report as presented by myself.
Okay, mover and seconder, Deputy Mayor Hendricks and Councillor Brody. Any discussion? I just had one comment or question. Did we apply for the summer jobs grant for this position?
Yes, we did, and we received nothing.
Okay. Was there any calls at all to Bev Shipley's office regarding that? Okay. That's good to know. Okay. All those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried.
The next one, disposal of surplus equipment. Councillor Adelaide Metcalfe purchased a 2019 roadside mower, replacing the 2013 model. Basically, the new mower has been delivered. We're actually using it. So since the new one is in service, the 2013 will not be needed to do the roadside cutting. The mower is proposed to be disposed through a public bidding process. The cost associated with the sale of the unit will be offset by the monetary value amount received. The remaining money will be entered back into the municipality as a revenue in the operational budget of the road department. This amount can be transferred back to reserves to support equipment replacement. Resolved that council approve the disposal of surplus equipment report as presented by myself, and resolved that council deemed the 2013 roadside mower to be surplus to the needs of the township, and that staff be directed to proceed with disposal of the surplus equipment as recommended.
Okay. Mover and seconder for the report. Okay. Councillor Clark and Councillor Brody. All those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried. And then mover and seconder for resolve that council deem the 2013 roadside mower to be surplus to the needs of the township, and that staff be directed to proceed with the disposal of the surplus equipment as recommended. Moved by Councillor McKinnon and Councillor Brody. I just had one comment, if I could. within this motion, could we also add that, just so then it's clear, that I'm assuming we'll be selling it to the highest bidder? And also, should we possibly be doing this in close and then also set a minimum? Or how is that going to work?
But the piece of equipment that we're talking about, the value of it is you have to be careful to try and put a value on it because we don't really want to at the same time keep it. The value of, say, for example, of the backhoe, I would have been more inclined to have put a minimum on it, whereas this piece of equipment, I mean, it has to be disposed of at some point. So minimum, I mean, I guess we could come back with one that we know we would receive for sure if that made everybody more comfortable with what's going on. So
I would just like to see that it just be in there, that it just be sold to the highest bidder or something in there, so it's a little more clear. Councilor Brody?
Yeah, I agree with the highest bidder one. A minimum, I mean, if you take it in auction sale, you get what you get, so.
Yeah.
You're talking about a $3,000 piece, maybe it might speak a little more, I don't know.
I have
Right.
no idea.
So.
Then that's
But yeah, the highest bidders.
okay. Is that okay with?
Isn't that what normally happens?
Yes, but just to be clear.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Mayor,
Just say.
oh, you haven't voted on it, sorry.
Yeah, you have that in there. Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, all those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried.
Getting ahead of myself.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
I assume we go to the highest as well. It's just, if it's not in there, anything can happen.
Okay, the next report, the Kerwood sidewalk report. This one here is a little more, I think everybody's been looking a little bit more for something like this. So basically, a little background. The village of Kerwood has about 1,600 meters of sidewalk. 1,000 meters were replaced in 2014. This sidewalk is mainly on the back streets, and it was poured in conjunction with the street itself, so our snow plows can clear it during the winter time. The remaining 600 meters of sidewalk that has not been replaced is basically on Kerwood Road, and all of it, after inspection, is in need of repair or replacement. All 600 meters of sidewalk is below the 1,500 millimeter or 5 feet for the required width of sidewalk in Ontario. And that's basically a standard for disabilities. And that it all has defects and that all require repair as of now. So basically, we are going to do temporary repairs on it and get it so that at least, because one of the things about when you do a sidewalk inspection, you can't ignore it. It has to be addressed right away. So as this report goes forward, those defects will have some sort of temporary repair taking place. So I've divided, or the deficient sidewalk can be divided into 4 sections, and I included a map so everybody could kind of have an idea the 4 sections. So the first section is on the east side of Kerwood Road from Mackenzie Street to Gray Street, and it needs some minor repairs, but it is in the best shape of the 4 sections that are in need of replacement. So I'm thinking in this section, a few repairs right away, and other than the width on it, it's in pretty good shape for people going up and down and using it. So it's not, it needs to be replaced, but it certainly isn't a big one. The other ones are definitely more concerning. The second section is the west side of Kerwood Road from Adele to Mackenzie Street. There are numerous repairs needed, and it point out that it is the main sidewalk that leads to the Kerwood mailbox location, which is located down by the fire station at the corner of Adele in Kerwood Road. And because of this section having the mailbox location where it is, I really recommend that this look at getting replaced sooner than later, that it goes to the top of the list, because people do travel it to walk down to the mailbox. The third section is the west side of Kerwood Road from Mackenzie Street to Gray Street, and it has numerous repairs also needed. This one here, it probably qualifies as the most repairs needed, but due to the fact of the old building and a couple of lots there, I would put it second in the list of repairs if I was ranking them, just for what's going on in there. And then the fourth section is both sides of Kerwood Road south of Gray Street have sidewalk on it, starting at the corner of Grace and leading towards the railroad tracks. The sidewalk basically doesn't get to the tracks, and if it did, there's really no access point across the track. So even if the sidewalk did extend, people still have to walk out onto Kerwood Road across the track. So I would look at either taking these sidewalks out and replacing them with topsoil, or just putting signs and posting them closed for now until we decide whether we want people crossing the railroad track. So I have an estimated replacement cost. I'm in the process again. In fact, I just received it a little while, just a couple of days ago. I just gave a copy to Kathy for one of the sections that I recommended from the section 2. So I do have an idea of what an estimate on that cost is going to be. And I also like to point out that the operational budget does include a $30,000 amount in the miscellaneous construction that council could direct to the replacement of a section of sidewalk in Kerwood if they chose to. Kathy or staff are reviewing the guidelines for Main Street revitalization. And I think there's a note there that Kathy's going to follow up with that. So the repairs or the replacement solutions are all basically built into the Public Works operational budget. Temporary repairs will take place no matter whether we decide to replace any or not, just because of being aware of the problems and moving forward with them. So it would take multiple days for our staff to complete these repairs, with materials costing approximately $1,000. The greater impact is the fact that there is a safety issue been identified, and the minor repairs are a stopgap measure. Before council proceeds to construct more sidewalk, I definitely recommend that we get these ones up to standard. Get them going. So my recommendation is all that the council approve the Kerwood sidewalk report as presented by the Public Works Manager himself. And secondly, resolve the council direct the Public Works Manager to prepare a follow-up report on replacement costs of the sidewalk on the west side of Kerwood Road from Adelaide Street to Mackenzie Street, which is section 2.
Okay, mover and seconder to approve the report. Councilor Clark and Councilor Brody. All those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried. And then the second motion, which is in regards to the second section of the sidewalks. All of that. Mover and seconder. Governor Hendricks, seconded by Councilor McKinnon. Is there any discussion? I was thinking Mackenzie because I've been looking at that word for a second. Councilor Clark.
I think that might be a good idea to decommission part of that, where it's not, you're talking about the piece that goes from Gray Street over the tracks. That might be the easiest, because I don't think there's a lot of walking traffic there anyway.
No, at this point.
And it's a safety piece too, right?
Yeah, to spend a lot of money there, bringing that up to repairs and grade really and not leading anywhere.
Yeah.
It's more simple just to pull the slabs and put some topsoil and grass seed back down for the.
Yeah, that would be my goal. Okay, thank you.
I agree with that.
Just another question for myself. With the report that you'll come back, would there be a possibility of having two quotes? So then you have it for the section that you're recommending, the Adele to Mackenzie, and then also from Adele all the way down to Grace?
To Grace. Do you both sides in there? I can.
We'll do the whole west side.
Yeah, I can follow up with an extended one there. Yeah.
Councilor Brody.
Through the mayor, I'd like to see if we're going to do something already done 1,000 meters back in 2014. Why don't you just get a price to do them all?
I can.
Like,
Yep.
you're only talking one extra street or one extra, like, if we're gonna do it, let's do it.
Okay.
Right? That's my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's issues there.
Yeah.
And we're already talking about wanting sidewalk, in other areas, so we might as well get the sidewalk that we already own up to date.
It'd be more cost efficient to do it all at once and, you know, like,
Yeah.
So let's change that to a report on the replacement cost of the sidewalks on Kermit Road, the whole section along there.
Cause is there not some on the other side, on the park side, that are really bad?
There's, on the park side, that's section 1, from Grace to Mackenzie, which would be in front of the wood store and the open lots there, and that does need to be replaced, but as soon as you get to Mackenzie and start heading towards the park, there's a little portion that has been already rebuilt
Oh,
for the
it
park.
has, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so.
And then the rest has no sidewalk, if I remember
That's
walking
correct.
there.
Yeah,
So-
there's no sidewalk. It kind of turns into where the playground equipment is. And whether, depending on what ends up happening with the park, that may change, but at the present moment, until that's decided.
So then also, Grace and Havelock, there is that drainage problem at the corner, does that impact the sidewalk at all?
No,
Okay,
no.
just
no.
checking. Okay.
And just before, I just wanted to mention too that, we will be putting in the ductile plates at the corners. That's a standard of Ontario for I guess, blind, when they cross the street. So even though the sidewalk is okay, say, at the corner of Mackenzie leading to the park, but if we put them on one side, we have to put them on the other. So we will be making sure each corner meets code, even though the sidewalk's good, we'll be putting those pieces in. So by Aaron, we'll be doing the cross down by the fire hall, so if people are coming down there, they can cross over to your section and still have those plates in place. So just pointed that out. So.
Councilor Brody?
just one other comment. We'll have to watch where that construction on the house is going, right?
Well, see, that was my concern in the other section, was there's a new house being built and there's the other older derelict house there that need to be addressed. I don't wanna put new sidewalks in and having large equipment driving over the equipment. At the same time, it doesn't mean that a small section, if we know there's set laneways, those sections could be left and easily be replaced, whether it's the cost of the building of the house or whether we come back and just add a section afterwards. So.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried. And then with that, and the comment that Councillor Clark had, which regarding the sidewalk south of Grace Street, do we want to have a motion to remove that sidewalk?
Yes, decommission.
Decommission it? Okay. Deputy Mayor Hendricks and Councillor Brody. All those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried.
And my final report tonight is a report on the AOR's provincial meeting. Background, the Association of Ontario Road Superintendents meets 3 times a year. One is at Good Roads, one in the summer and one in the fall. In the past, council has given approval for the public works manager to attend as the Middlesex County representative and use the township vehicle for transportation. Summary, the public works manager of the township of Adelaide Metcalfe would attend the meeting on Friday, June 21st, 2019 in Barrie, Ontario. This is a one-day meeting. The financial impact would be to drive up and drive back, which would be approximately $80 to $100 in fuel. Resolved that council approve the public works manager attendance at the Association of Ontario Road Superintendents meeting, June 21st, 2019 in Barrie, Ontario, and that the public works manager use the township truck for transportation.
Mover and seconder. Councillor Brody and Councillor McKinnon. All those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried.
That's, Mr. Mayor, is my flurry of little reports. If there's any questions of stuff going on out there, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that anybody's got. I see, just a quick follow-up, I think Deputy Mayor Hendricks knows that there was a bore completed, the drain
yes.
over on Cuddy, which finally got done. It looks pretty good. I was over there last week, and that's been a long time coming. So,
Pre-election, because Councillors Clark and Brody probably don't even know what bore we're talking about. Yeah, it's, and they
one
still.
bore ended up doing the bore across the road.
There's another tap that does it on Mellow, where Hornblower used to be the only one that did it, but now there's
He's got it on the way to McClung.
So,
Yeah, it wasn't an issue of who did it, it was
no,
an
get it.
issue of getting permission from
permission to
Alberta.
cross, yes, exactly.
Okay, is there any questions at all for Jeff? Nope. Alrighty. So we'll go on to the next staff report, which is from our clerk.
Thanks, Mayor Smith. My one and only report that I have tonight is in regards to the Emergency Management Program Committee appointment. If council remembers, back on May 6th, I submitted a staff report looking for the appointment of our Emergency Information Officer. Since my last report, I've attended a sector meeting for emergency management with Bettina, who's our CEMC, and Aaron, who's our alternate CEMC. This was held in London at their Emergency Operations Center. It's in regards to our compliance. I've had conversations with our field officer, Christopher Pape, just prior to the sector meeting, and we had a verbal discussion regarding our compliance for 2018. We've not received any correspondence relating to our 2018 compliance reporting. We were told we would receive a letter by March of 2019. At last week's meeting, we were told it would be last week of June, which we still haven't received anything. In verbal discussions with Christopher Pape 2 weeks ago, it was brought to my attention during conversation that the township was not compliant for 2018, and this is due to the township appointing a council member as the emergency information officer. When I look back through our records, the township has had a council member as the EIO since 2012. Attached to this report is a letter that I sent to the field officer supervisor asking that the township be exempted for 2018 compliance due to inconsistencies, as I have pointed out in the attached letter. To date, still haven't received a response on that. As stated in the Emergency Management and Civil Protection Act, every municipality shall designate an employee of the municipality as its emergency information officer. Council is not considered an employee, but as an elected official. We cannot undo what was acceptable by OFEM since 2012. However, we can change going forward. So at the May 6th council meeting, council appointed Deputy Mayor Hendricks as the EIO. In order to be compliant for this year moving forward, council must appoint an employee. Staff is looking for direction from council as to which employee to appoint as the EIO in order to be compliant for 2019. Also, after further discussions with Christopher Pape, it had also come to light that every person appointed to the Emergency Control Group shall attend the year-end exercise in order to be compliant. This includes all alternates. Currently, we have the following personnel delegated on the Township's Emergency Control Group: the Mayor, the Deputy Mayor, the CAO Treasurer or alternate, Clerk or alternate, the EIO, Public Works Manager or alternate, Middlesex OPP, the CEMC or alternate, Social Services Representative or alternate, Middlesex London Health Unit or alternate, and the Salvation Army Representative. Based on the individuals above, we would not have been compliant for 2018 as not everyone above attended the annual exercise. Staff is looking for direction from council as to who should be delegated to sit on the Emergency Control Group. I recommend a smaller group that would assess the emergency situation and call upon additional individuals depending on the needs and situation of the emergency. So summary, staff is looking for direction from council for the following. For an appointment to EIO for a staff member and members to delegate to sit on the emergency control group. There's no financial impacts. Resolved that Council received the Emergency Management Program Committee appointment update staff report as presented by myself. My second resolution resolved that Council appoint whoever as a staff member as the Emergency Information Officer for the Emergency Control Group. And then my third recommendation resolved that Council appoint the following positions to the Township of Adelaide Metcalfe Emergency Control Group. So I had Mayor, Deputy Mayor, CAO, Treasurer, Clerk, EIO, Fire Chief, Public Works Manager, and our CEMC.
So do you want the first one, which is just receiving the report? Councillor McKinnon and Councillor Clark, all those in favor? Opposed and carried. Next is, hopefully I can talk. Who are we thinking to be appointed the EIO?
Should we have a recommendation for somebody like Jeff or somebody for that?
He's already on the group.
Yes. The question I have is, can the clerk or the fire chief or the public works manager be two positions?
Yep.
I'd probably recommend either the clerk or the CAO treasurer.
Yeah, you need someone with the skills to
Communicate.
enter everything into the computer and have access.
May I comment, just, depending on the emergency too, I may be busy with more precise activities out there, whether it's an environmental issue, generally, yeah.
That makes sense. Who are we thinking?
I was thinking Jennifer for the clerk.
You moving that?
I'm moving that.
I'll second this. Okay, so we're moving that it would be the clerk would be the EIO.
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried. Okay. Okay, and the next, which is appointing the emergency control group, which is the mayor, deputy mayor, CAO, treasurer, clerk, EIO, fire chief, public works manager, and the CEMC. Everyone's happy with that? Okay, mover and seconder. Councillor Clark and Councillor McKinnon, all those in favor? Opposed? Do you have a question?
I do, and not particular to that, but aside from the actual personal consequence of not being compliant, are there other the word just went out of my head. Are there other consequences to not being compliant?
So through the mayor, at this point, there's not. We don't get a slap in the hand. As you see, we don't even get a letter. So we used to have JEP grant money, Joint Emergency Preparedness Program, but they no longer have that anymore. So really there's no carrot that dangles in front of our face if we're not compliant. I myself as clerk don't like not being compliant, and I'm disappointed with communications from OFM.
So all those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried. The next few reports are from our CAO treasurer, Kathy.
Thank you, Mayor Smith. The first report is the invoice payment approval listing from the period of May 31st, 2019 to June 13th, 2019 in the amount of $421,360.17.
Is there any questions on the accounts? Deputy Hendricks?
Yep, just on the first page, the Barugi Law Professionals. It's result of this? It's legal services?
It was for a legal opinion on a matter that came up.
Okay. Just that we couldn't use our normal legal.
Well, it was through the,
Yeah, we have two, we actually have both appointed, Brody Law is appointed as our legal, as well as Middlesex County barristers and solicitors.
Oh, that's the change of name.
She was for
That was
where
for
I was
yeah,
previously,
okay.
yes.
Okay. I didn't recognize the name. Okay. Well, that's the only question I had.
Councillor McLean?
On page 1 of 5, it's not questioning the bill, it's to the Canadian National for the maintenance on the road crossing at Kerwood there. And I'm wondering if we could hold this amount back for lack of maintenance and in the very least send them a letter informing them of the state of the crossing at Kerwood.
If I may, that's not actually for the Kerwood one, that's the county responsibility.
Okay.
That's for their maintenance on the other crossings. They go out, it's a 50% split that we pay to CN for the review and maintenance of it.
So can we send a letter in regards to the Kerwood crossing then?
If I may, I believe Public Works Manager Jeff Little has made contact with CN to try to get them to our table to have a discussion about the crossings. Specifically Pike Road and the Kerwood Road crossing.
Pike is good now.
But it's in regards to the whistling, so when they
Yes.
come, they talk about both issues.
Okay.
And just a comment to continue on, Mr. Mayor, I have contacted, and I forget, I'd have to look at his exact title up. He looks after crossings across, I'm assuming across a large section of the rail lines. And it's funny, I basically put this straight as when he wanted to contact me, he was right there, and now I've tried to contact him multiple times and I haven't even heard a whisper back. So I don't know whether we have to go a step, what the next step is to get in contact, but
Our legal department to send out a
I'm not
request.
sure what the next step is, to be honest. So.
Okay.
Just
Councillor Brody?
comments where, yeah, a low boy trailer's going over his head.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
they're
Exactly, they're
they're
hitting.
scraping and hitting,
Oh, yeah.
and it gets bad.
I
mean-
wouldn't even like to take my convertible over that.
No.
It's
But trailers are scraping,
Mm-hmm.
so I mean, it's just gonna be a matter of time for something catches them on track.
And again, Mr. Mayor, if I may, being a county road, I don't know if the county, if it's been brought up that county.
Chris String is, yeah, he's aware of it.
Yeah.
I wonder if going to the county's legal department, if they may send a letter and maybe it'll hold more merit if they do, rather than just the township. At least we've made them aware of it and our risk management, we've looked after that.
A comment that is through Councillor Brody, they are hitting now.
Oh,
The low
that's
trailers
terrible.
are catching, so
Mhm.
it's gone, it is gone from rough to
Oh,
dangerous.
terrible.
yes.
Yeah.
So I'll move that we direct staff to contact the county to have legal department forward a letter
To CN.
stating our concerns.
Seconded.
Okay, and that's to just CN or CN and also include, I would say also
We're asking-
CC the county as well.
We're asking the
Yeah.
county to initiate the contact. Cause it's a county
It's a
road.
county road.
The one is anyway, Pike's not, but, I just think maybe coming from the county, if we're making a motion to request that our county legal department forward the letter on our behalf.
So I just want to be clear, so it's us asking the county legal team to send something on behalf of us?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And themselves.
Yeah.
Cause it's their best interest as well, they're 50% involved there.
Okay. That, yes.
Staff directed to have county legal department contact CN on behalf of township and county of Middlesex.
We can't direct the county to do something.
We can request.
We can request, yes.
Okay. We direct staff to contact to request.
Okay, so that's moved by Councillor Clark and second by Councillor McKinnon. All right. That makes sense. Yeah. Okay, all those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried. Okay, is there any other questions on the accounts? Okay, mover and seconder to approve the account listings. Okay, Councillor Brody and Jeffrey Hendricks. All those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried.
Item number 2 is a tax collection policy report. The Township of Adelaide Metcalfe does not have a written policy for tax billing and collection. It is good practice to have a formal policy for tax accounts, which incorporates good and acceptable business practices and provides consistency and fairness to its customers and the township. A draft of the policy is attached for council's review. There is no impact on the budget for the creation of the tax collection policy. The recommendation is that council receive the tax collection policy report as presented, and that council accept the draft tax collection policy for review to be discussed at the next regular council meeting for approval.
Okay, motion to receive the report.
So moved.
Okay, Councillor Clark and Councillor McKinnon. All those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried. And then a motion to accept the draft policy.
So moved.
Councillor Clark and Councillor Brody. Is there any discussion on this one right now? All those in favor? Or do you
I haven't had a chance to read it.
Okay, that's fine. All those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried.
The next report is in regard to tender results. The tenders and quotes were prepared and distributed as per the procurement bylaw. The following tenders closed on Tuesday, June the 11th at 2:00 p.m. Tender 05, cold in place. Tender 06, single surface treatment. Tender 07, 6mm stone chip. And Tender 08, construction A gravel. The report on each of the tender results was circulated to council. The tender contracts are incorporated into the 2019 township budget. Each tender result report contains the 2019 budget amount for the project, and the recommendations are on each of the respective results reports. The first tender is Tender 05 2019, which is the cold in place asphalt. The tender was issued on Friday, May 24th, with an addendum issued on June the 7th. The tenders were opened at 2:15 p.m. on Tuesday, June the 11th by the Public Works Manager and myself. Representatives from Norjon and Lavis were in attendance for the opening. The 2019 budget amount is $310,000. The contracts came in Norjon Contracting and Paving Limited. The price per square meter was $4.99, and the subtotal was $269,460 plus HST. Lavis Contracting came in at $5.35 per cubic meter for a total of $288,900 plus HST. And the recommendation from the Public Works Manager is to accept the tender from Norjon for the supply of the cold recycled emulsion mix leveling course in the amount of $4.99 per cubic meter plus HST.
Okay.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor McKinnon, seconded by Councillor Brody. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried.
Single surface tender 06 2019 was issued on Monday, May the 27th and closed Tuesday, June the 11th. The tenders were opened at 2:15 p.m. on the 11th by the Public Works Manager and the CEO Treasurer. A representative from Norjon was in attendance. The 2019 budget was estimated at $2.70 per square meter. The subtotal price from Norjon Contracting and Paving Limited for the supply and apply of the product was $518,314.60 plus HST. MSO Construction, which is a division of Miller Paving Limited, had a price of $590,993.40. And the recommendation is that council accept the tender from Norjon Contracting and Paving Limited for the supply of the single surface treatment in the amount of $518,314.60, and that's as recommended by the Public Works Manager.
Mover and seconder.
So moved.
Councillor McKinnon and Councillor Clark. All those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried.
The next tender is Tender 07 2019, which for 6mm stone chip. The tenders for the stone chip were issued on Monday, May the 27th and closed on June the 11th. The tenders were opened at 2:15 p.m. There was a representative from Clarence Carter in attendance. The 2019 budget was based on $17 per ton. The estimated quantity is 5,000 tons. Mackenzie and Henderson Limited quoted a price of $18.25 per ton for a subtotal of $91,250 plus HST. Clarence Carter and Sons Limited quoted a price of $17.50 per ton for a subtotal of $87,500 plus HST. The Public Works Manager has inspected both types of chips, or both proposed chips to be used, and he is satisfied the one from Clarence Carter will meet the needs of the township. And the recommendation from the Public Works Manager is to accept a tender from Clarence Carter and Sons Limited for the supply of 5,000 tons of 6mm stone chip aggregate in the amount of $750 per ton plus HST.
Mover and seconder, Councillor Brody and Deputy Hendricks. All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried.
And the fourth tender was for the tender 08-2019 for construction A gravel. The tenders were issued on Monday, May 27th and closed on Tuesday, June the 11th at 2 p.m. The tenders were opened by the Public Works Manager and the CAO Treasurer, and the representative from Clarence Carter was present for the opening. The 2019 budget was estimated at $170,000. The quantity in tons was 7,500. Mackenzie and Henderson quoted a price of $16.70 per ton for a subtotal of $125,250 plus HST. Clarence Carter and Sons Limited quoted a price of $16.20 per ton for a subtotal of $121,500 plus HST. And the Public Works Manager has recommended that the tender from Clarence Carter and Sons Limited for the supply of 7,500 tons of A gravel be supplied in the amount of $16.20 per ton plus HST.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor McKinnon, seconded by Councillor Brody. All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried.
Next report is in regards to township credit cards. In 2017, the Township Council approved the application for a Libro Business MasterCard account with an aggregate credit limit of $12,000, with cardholders being the CAO Treasurer, a limit of $10,000, and the Chief Building Official with a limit of $2,000. Libro has announced that it is winding down the Business MasterCard program and has a partnership with Calabria, a Canadian credit card provider expressly created to help credit unions. Staff are working with Libro to complete the application for a Libro Calabria Business Visa account. With the new program, the number of cardholders will be expanded as follows. It's being recommended the CAO Treasurer, the $10,000 limit, the Clerk, $2,500, Public Works Manager, $5,000, Chief Building Official, $2,500, and Fire Chief, $2,500. This will ensure that all senior staff have the capability to make purchases when necessary. The financial impact, all purchases must comply with the procurement bylaw. The recommendation is that the council receive the township credit cards report as presented by the CAO Treasurer, and that council approve the recommendation for an aggregate credit limit of $22,500 for the township collaborative business Visa account with the senior staff card limits as specified in the report by the CAO Treasurer.
Okay, mover and seconder for the report. Councillor McKinnon and Councillor Brody. All those in favor?
Question.
This is just for the report.
Okay.
Is that okay? Opposed? And that's carried. And question on the...
So is there cost per card?
There are some that have a cost per card, so we're looking at the different, 3 different options that we have and to make sure we get the best one that'll fit us properly.
And some of the cards have points to them?
I believe there is, yes.
So they would be the
Points belong to the township, yes.
Councillor McKinnon?
On the CAO Treasurer, the $10,000 limit, I'm kind of thinking that's too high, and I wondered if you could give us an example of when 10,000 would be required.
More for emergency purposes than anything. We have had, multiple people have gone to conferences, by the time we book registrations and hotels and travel, it can get up there, and then by the time we get the bill and get it paid for the next month, it can be quite extensive. So that's why we opted for the $10,000 and as well for emergency purposes in case we needed to procure something.
Okay. Thank you.
We've never been over, I don't even think we've reached $5,000 on our credit card aggregate so far.
Okay, any other questions at all? Okay, mover and seconder for approval. Okay, Councillor Brody and Deputy Mayor Hendricks. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried.
The next report is in regards to the Main Street Revitalization Initiative. In 2018, the township received $40,209.64 in funding from the Main Street Revitalization Initiative. It was a $26 million fund to help municipal governments undertake revitalization activities and support and benefit small businesses. The funds are required to be spent no later than March 31st, 2020. There are two main categories to consider for use of the funds: the implementation of priority financial incentives in existing community improvement plans, which the township currently does not have, and funding of strategic municipal physical infrastructure such as signage, wayfinding, directional and gateway, streetscaping and landscape improvements with some recommendations there, and a marketing plan and implementation. I have contacted AMO in regards to eligible projects for the township. Improving existing sidewalks to be AODA compliant is an eligible expense. As outlined in the Kerwood sidewalk report submitted by the Public Works Manager, there are sections of the sidewalks along Kerwood Road that require attention. Council received correspondence from Mrs. Perry at the last meeting about the condition of the sidewalk. AODA compliance may also require the placement of rest benches along the sidewalk being replaced. It is staff's recommendation to consider installation of garbage cans at the intersections as well. In addition, Adelaide Metcalfe does have a rich history. Many municipalities are proudly displaying their heritage through murals. The Kerwood Fire Hall and the Township Office are prime locations for installations. Financial impact: the township has received the full funding allocation. The expense will be paid from the township general account and reimbursed from the Main Street Revitalization account. The expense to the township will be for staff time related to obtaining quotes and researching subject matter for the proposed murals. And that's part of our regular duties, so there'd be no cost to the Main Street Revitalization. And the recommendation is that council receive the Main Street Revitalization Initiative reports presented by the CEO Treasurer, and we're looking for some direction from council on where to proceed with funding.
Okay. First, we'll go with the approval or to receive the report. Councillor Penn and Councillor Brody. All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. And full direction. Okay, Councillor Clark.
So just to clarify, so this 40,290,000, right now it's sitting in reserve or sitting in a general account?
It's sitting in a separate bank account. It was required to be in its own bank account.
Right. So my involvement prior to being here with any Main Street program was you had to spend it and then it was matched. So that's not the case at all.
No.
This is just a givey and that's what it is.
Correct.
So my recommendation would be that we earmark all of it because I think you're going to need it for the sidewalks in Kerwood.
Councillor Brody.
That's what I thought exactly. If we're gonna do, there's money to do good for those sidewalks. We have any left over, we can look at maybe signage or some bench or whatever. I mean, but to spend 40,000 on something other than sidewalks, I mean, that's what needs to be done.
Any other comments, questions? Councillor Kennedy.
I agree with the sidewalks, but I also think that we have the opportunity to make other people aware of what is in Adelaide Metcalfe. For instance, in 1928, Fred Thrower of Kerwood had the king of racehorses around this spot, and he purchased it from Archie Pedden in Strathroy. He bought
Archie Pedden's place is in Adelaide Metcalfe.
yeah, well, this is said nearby Strathroy, and Pedden got 13 calves, and Thrower ended up with this Grattan Bars, who is over at the fairgrounds in Strathroy. There's a big monument to Grattan Bars, and I guess what I'm thinking, Strathroy have claimed General Curry, they're claiming Grattan Bars, and they claimed the Ashby Industries. So I'm thinking we have to earmark what's Adelaide Metcalfe more than what we have in the past. And if we have some money, I think it would be nice either to have a plaque. I'm not sure where Mr. Thrower lived, but this horse was unbeatable in the 1920s. Do you know where he lived?
We can put the plaque up at the park when we get a new building over there.
That sounds like a plan. Yeah, I know there was a barn. Strathroy has a lot of his trophies and a lot of his pictures from, and there was a barn with Grattan Barr's name on it, but I'm not sure where it was located. And the same with General Curry.
Don't we know where his house was?
Yeah.
It's gone.
Was, yeah, but there could be a plaque there.
There is one.
There is.
Is there a plaque? Good.
Okay, it sounds like we're all wanting to go towards the sidewalk idea. My only comment with that is I would like to kind of wait until we see what the cost is going to be. We do have $30,000 that we can take out of the Public Works budget that is already noted in the other report. Because something with Main Street revitalization is that, you know, when you drive down a main street somewhere else, you have, you know, Canadian flags on the poles or whatever it is,
Flowers.
or flowers or whatever it is. I think I completely agree. We need to install new sidewalks,
Yep.
but at the same time, if we're going to be earmarking this money for, you know, Main Street, whatever it is, I think we also need to do something more than just the sidewalks. I was just going through a town. It's over Iowa Station and all those ones over there. They have all the Canadian flags along every hydro pole going into the little village there.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where it shows the pride of, you know, Canada, or if we want to do flags for Adelaide Metcalfe, whatever it would be. I think there's a little more we can do instead of just replacing the sidewalks, which we can also do through that other fund as well. But it's, yeah, whatever the wish of council is. Councilor
We
Burke.
don't have to decide on that tonight.
Oh, we have to.
Yes, we do, or yes, we don't?
We decide on that?
Yeah.
We don't.
Sorry, you went yes, and I said
No,
yes.
I said yes, we don't have to decide.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
sorry, just clarifying.
Yeah, we don't have to decide where this money goes at all.
No, it's just so that we know where we're looking now. We've got a more clear
Yeah.
picture with the sidewalks, but we can also, if we get some direction that that's where we would like to take that money, and then once we can see when the money, the cost of the sidewalks comes in, then we can maybe start looking at how we can fund it through, partially through the 30,000. Yeah, you've already established the budget, as well as maybe some of the Main Street Initiative, and use some of the Main Street Initiative to fund some other things as well.
Councilor McKinnon?
And alluding to what Jeff said, once we start with the park, there may be changes made to it. So should our first step be for a recreation committee to get going on the park?
Very good idea.
Kathy?
If I may, there was a direction at a previous meeting to discuss with some community partners on the park before we jumped in to do anything. So until we get back with that report, which will be coming to you probably in the summertime for 2020 on what we can do at the park. There is recreation grant funding going to be announced in the fall as well.
That's putting us way behind again.
Mm-hmm.
Councilor Brody?
Just a comment, this has to be spent no later than March 31st.
Yeah.
So we need to move on this one
Yes.
to get that money, or keep that money.
Keep it.
Use it for sidewalks. If it comes in at whatever, get it done. We can talk about spending some money, other
Elsewhere.
signs or
Yep.
whatever. We just gotta make sure
Well,
you don't lose
because-
that kind of money, right?
Yeah, and to your point, if the sidewalks come in at $42,000 and we eat this all up, we still got 30 somewhere else to
Yeah.
pull. But we need to spend this on an actual project with a deadline.
Okay, so it sounds like you have a mover and seconder for resolving the council direct staff to proceed with the sidewalk. Yeah.
Maybe we should say instead of track, first proceed that that council identify replacing sidewalks in Kerwood to be AODA compliant as a priority for the Main Street funding and revitalization initiative funding.
I'll move that, but do we also need to direct Jeff to get quotes, or he?
That was,
think
That
that
was
was
the
done.
other one, okay, alright, I'm good with that then.
And second by Councillor Brody.
Yep.
Any further discussion?
Should we also include benches in that, so we?
To be AODA compliant takes in the benches.
Yeah. So that's assuming in that motion that we're going for the sidewalk cost and the benches.
Yeah, so when anything that's AODA compliant after so many meters, there has to be a bench. And then also beside the bench is also a concrete area beside it for a wheelchair or stroller, whatever it is. There's a lot of
There's
Um,
rules around
yeah,
that,
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, all those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried.
My next report is in regards to revoking Adelaide Metcalfe Fire Department appointments. This is related to the change to the fire inspection investigation services formerly provided by the township by the County of Middlesex. The transfer has now been completed. In 2014, a resolution was passed by the Council of the Township of Adelaide Metcalfe appointing the county inspectors as officers of the Adelaide Metcalfe Fire Department. As the relationship has now been terminated, it is no longer necessary to have the external appointments to our department. There is no financial impact. The recommendation is that council accept the revoke Adelaide Metcalfe Fire Department appointments as presented by the CEO Treasurer, and that council revoke the appointment of John Elston, Steve Gay, and Maureen Hathaway as officers of the Adelaide Metcalfe Fire Department effective June 17th, 2019.
Okay, mover and seconder for the report. Councillor Brody and Councillor Clark. All those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried. And then a motion to,
Is there any discussion on
Yeah.
this? Okay.
yeah, so we'll have the discussion before we do the motion then. Okay, Councillor Clark?
So my question is, there was a matter that we briefly spoke of at the last meeting or the one before. So when I was advised that that property was investigated, so was that by Aaron or that was by the county still, because we were still engaged with them up till June 17th, okay?
It was conducted by
First
the county,
question.
yes.
Second question, now that we do not have someone from the county, who does that?
Our fire investigator, let our fire chief speak to the investigations.
Okay, so, currently we have no one. And, we're not alone, all the municipalities in the township, in the county are in the same boat. So, no one has made any clear decisions. What will likely happen is some shared service agreements, but with whom we don't know because no one has done anything specific. Now, having said that, if a request or a complaint comes in to do an inspection, we can call on the City of London. Possibly they would send someone out. There are 2 fire chiefs in the county that could possibly do it, but without having something in writing, we have nothing. So I'm assuming that possibly the next council meeting will have a report as to where we're going.
If I may, though, OFMEM is always available to provide services. The
That's
fire marshal's
correct.
office will come in and assist us if we need assistance. They've assured us of that, so.
And the FPPA states that any request or complaint has to go through a fire chief, and the fire chief actually has to approve the inspection before it actually happens. So that alleviates a case where it's a neighborhood feud or something like that. for
Oh, okay,
instance.
so it's qualified.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, and that hasn't happened so much in the past, and it will be in the future. So, if we do get something, I'll look at it, and then, okay, I can call the OFM, and I'm not sure I'll just send out an inspector. As far as investigations are concerned, there's certain criteria for them to come down to investigate a fire. It has to be over $500,000 loss, it has to be suspicious or a death involved or an explosion, so there's a list. If it doesn't meet any of that, we have to do our own investigations, which we can do. And if it is below any of those things, and we are unsure, they said because Middlesex County is now in a unique position, they will send someone. So,
Through the mayor, so I'm assuming the report is a standardized report that's completed, it's not
which
like
report?
when you have to do a report or a request, it's for an inspection, it's sort of a standardized document? Or is it just you send an email and say you need it? Maybe I'm not being
To
clear.
initiate?
Yes, yeah.
To initiate? No, there's no.
No document of sorts.
No.
Okay.
Once the inspection is done,
That's documented.
that's documented.
Okay. And then are we assessed a cost per incident or
There's no cost
investigation?
to it.
There's none. Okay, thank you.
Okay, is there any other questions at all? Okay, mover and seconder to vote the appointments. Okay, Councilor Payne and Councilor Brody. All those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried.
The last report is a financial report including payroll. Circulated tonight. There is a brief update on the tax collection as of June 17th. The payroll report for May is also attached, as well as an actual pre-budget comparison as of May 31st, 2019. It is a lot to review in the comparison, so you can take that with you and review it. What's your license?
Is there any questions at all? Mover and seconder that resolve the council accepts the financial report including the May 2019 payroll as presented by the CAO treasurer. Councilor Payne and Councilor Brody, all those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried. Do you have anything for other business? Councilor Clark?
So what is the policy within the municipality for weeds, like the weed ordinance, on properties and such?
You would get in contact with the weed inspector, which is we appoint the
This is
county.
right?
Yeah.
So if it is a lot, for example, that's the back of my bumper and that's how high the grass is. And that is a property where there is the building in Kerwood that looks unsafe. And it's right beside, the grass is about, how high is wainscoting, 30 inches? Yeah, it's probably this high, so I didn't know if that's an issue or not. I mean, it's sort of unsightly. I don't know if it's the sort of thing we cut it and then assess them, or?
We have initiated that process already in Kerwood. There's been 3 lots that have been identified as needing to be cut, and it's been undertaken already.
Okay.
Yeah.
That picture was last week, so maybe it's been
It
over.
did, yeah, I did notice that, I'm assuming that one property top that we were
Pretty
picture
much
there, it
right.
has been
Okay.
cut,
Bush hog, it would have to be?
I believe we did it by weed eater. 'Cause he
Yeah,
didn't
it'd
have-
be,
Yeah. It still needs a little help, but it's better.
Yeah, he was asked to knock it down the first round just to see what's in the ground because we're
Yeah,
not
you
sure
don't know
what
what's
might be
underneath
underneath
it.
it, so he was cautioned before he proceeded with going with the lawnmower to
Okay.
knock it down. So he has got the lot to the south of the tracks, right at the corner of Munn will be done. The corner of Grace and Kerwood on the west side, as well as the lot to the north of that's vacant.
I believe all those are done except for that one little lot.
I think the one lot is the only one that has not been completed yet, so.
Anything else for other business? Deputy Mayor Hendricks?
Yeah, I attended late last week attended on an invitation to hear about the Community Employment Center, and it really worked out oddly. I was the only mayor or deputy mayor that actually got there, so I got a personal
Tour.
Well, a tour, more of a explanation,
Education.
and they have been here before, but
Bill Creek.
I think they're really, the issue is businesses are really looking for employees and
Is
they're
this
look-
on Second Street or where
It's
is
on
it?
Second Street, so I was given a stack of information, which I promptly forgot to bring along, but I can drop it by the office. They'd asked if we would leave it in our resources. So if you know anybody that's having trouble getting work or needs to get their education upgraded, I mean, they do all kinds of really good work with that, and they're looking to network. Their biggest issue is even if they find the employees to bring them here, they can't find housing. So, but they asked just to pass along a message that they're there to help. So I will drop off the literature next time I'm through the village.
Perfect. Okay, is there anything else for other business? Seeing none. A motion to resolve that council, the CEO, treasurer, and the clerk move to closed session pursuant to section 239 2B and D at 8:51. Councillor Kinnan and Councillor Brody. All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Alrighty, so just reconvene from the closed session at 9:40. We just have a couple items for the Rising Report.
I don't even have those wrote down. One will be that staff be directed to proceed as discussed in closed session. And the other one will be, we didn't have one for the wage and salaries, did we? No. Okay, so, and that one,
That's still under review, right?
Which is what two sections
she's
are
still
still.
listed, two sections.
Yeah.
That's not the right word, but.
Does the third come out into open?
The incident?
No, the
No,
bottom one.
the,
Conditional.
Yes, yeah, okay. So,
So we'll do the first one where it's proceed as directed.
yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, Councillor Kinnan and Councillor Hendricks, or Deputy Hendricks. All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried.
And then the second one is resolved that council authorize the mayor and CO treasurer to sign the conditional building permit agreement with the Creekside A Company, Inc., Anna Sanders and Gerald Sanders when prepared, and that the appropriate bylaw be circulated for approval.
Mover and seconder. Okay, Councillor Clark and Deputy Hendricks. All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. That's it.
Yes. And if you want to go back to correspondence, okay.
Okay, and we just have the 2 items for correspondence, and that was
Section C.
section C. Okay, and the first one is regarding community chicken barbecue.
So moved.
Okay, moved by Councillor McKinnon, and seconded by Councillor Brody. All those in favor? Opposed? Discussion. Sorry.
They're not asking for any participation from like the municipality, right? It's just Optimist, right?
Yeah.
Just because in the past it was always the municipality.
Through Mayor to Councillor Clark, we were notified by one of the Optimist members. Actually, Dwayne was in contact with me, and there was a letter coming to council, and I don't know if it's just an invitation or if it's a letter of asking for a volunteer for the event. That I don't know, because I don't have that letter yet.
I think it's just maybe put it on the website.
Oh, okay.
I do believe, I
I told him, yeah, no problem.
I
Okay,
think that's all
sorry.
it is.
Okay.
More
That's
of a
good.
motion, I don't think they're looking for any help.
Okay.
Okay, that's good. Okay, all those in favor? And that's carried. And the next, very similar request, and that's for the Kerwood Firemen's Association Fish Fry. Okay, Councillor Brody and Councillor McKinnon. Any discussion on this one? All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried.
Do they have dates set for that?
August
There's
24th.
August 20, yeah.
24th.
It's always the last Saturday in August.
August 31st?
24th.
Weekend
24th.
24th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
wherever the Saturday is, that we can.
In the correspondence, I believe, it's got the 24th down.
Yeah. So I guess, yeah, it's the second.
It's the second last.
Yeah.
And the barbecue again?
It's 27th.
July 27th.
Okay, so we're just gonna motion to resolve the council receiving correspondence items CC1 to CC6. Councilor McKinnon and Councilor Brody, all those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried. If there's nothing else for other business, we'll go into the bylaws. It's resolved that all three readings be given to bylaw number 46 of 2019, zoning bylaw amendment 05/2019, number 47, tax rates and 2019 taxation. Bylaw number 48 of 2019, confirmed council proceedings, and that the bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk and the clerk is sealed and attached. And Councilor Brody, all those in favor? Opposed, that's carried. And a motion to adjourn at 9:45.
So moved.
Okay, Councilor Clark,